should have guessed that the WWE couldn't survive as a three-headed monster for very long. I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling vlogger who always tells it like it is. I'm gonna say I went 4.5 out of 5, or 4.5 out of 6 for day one. I completely missed the Usos beating the New Day. I said that Drew McIntyre would win, but by DQ, not thinking the 2-on-1 would happen after the match. And I'm not counting either primary title match picks because they didn't turn out the way they were initially advertised, thanks to Roman catching Omicron. Kind of ironic he spent 5 months away to avoid COVID-19 before returning to take the Universal title, and now he caught it thanks to a variant. Good thing he got over it quickly and that his leukemia didn't exasperate things. Now he just has to deal with Seth frickin' Rollins. And yeah, that seems to be his official name now. Anyway, on to the subject at hand. With the Cruiserweight title finally folded, and Braun Steiner, Breaker, winning the NXT title from Tommaso Ciampa, I think it's safe to say that the original NXT is dead and that NXT 2.0 has taken its place officially. The nail in the coffin was when several wrestlers/trainers were released, including William Regal, the longtime general manager of NXT. Regal and Ciampa were really the last of the old guard to hang on to the old NXT. When Breaker kicked the Styrofoam X from the original logo clean in half, it was a sign that the end was nigh. And that's a bit of a shame, since a little more than 2 years ago, NXT had finally broken away from the WWE Network and started having shows on USA, just like Raw, and SmackDown on Fox. That seemed to be the start of NXT no longer being the minor leagues of the WWE, but instead a separate but equal brand of its own. A few weeks later, NXT joined Survivor Series and actually beat both Raw and SmackDown 4-2-1. The two being SmackDown. And then, when Charlotte won the Royal Rumble of the year that will not be named, she decided to try for the NXT Women's Championship. And won! It really looked like NXT was getting out from under the shadow of the red and blue brands, and the black and gold were showing the world that they were also superstars to be contended with. But with the change to NXT 2.0, many of those things have started to be rolled back. Starting with the release of at least 1/4 of the active roster, including almost all of the Undisputed Era, some others who weren't pulling their weight, and some that had just started to get a grip on NXT before being canned because the writers couldn't fit them in anywhere. The change of the logo and of the Capitol Wrestling Center was also a sign of the original apocalypse. We were used to NXT taking place in a relatively dark Full Sail university, and it was fitting of the grittiness of the superstars to try their best to make it to the main rosters. Almost like Madison Square Garden if you didn't look up. But now the logo looks like it's gone through one of those bad color runs, and the lighting and the audience make it look like they're watching a circus. Which they're not, mind you, but it sure looks like we're expecting Doink and his twins to show up at any time. And War Games was the penultimate trumpet sounding. The 2.0 team, led by Breaker, somehow outlasted the old guard, making a statement that the changes in NXT were here to stay, whether we liked it or not. New Year's Evil and the firing of Regal more or less put an end to any semblance of the old NXT, including that it was to be considered equal to Raw or SmackDown. Honestly, I should have seen that coming. It happened before, back in 2006. The WWE announced that a third brand, ECW, would join Raw and SmackDown, seeing as how popular the previous year's One Night Stand was. But they made the mistake of making the new ECW nothing like the old one. The old ECW was less wrestling and more a legalized mugging, and people loved that about it. The new ECW was just like Raw and SmackDown with a much smaller roster. There were occasional matches under ECW rules, but not much. Hence why it closed down 3.5 years later. It just wasn't different enough to survive. Now NXT has gone down the same path. They tried to push it as a brand equal to Raw and SmackDown, but they didn't keep it up. Now as 2.0, NXT has gone back to what it was before having a show on USA. WWE University, where up-and-comers work to earn spots in the main rosters. Other than that, they're hardly worth a mention by Michael Cole or Corey Graves. Oh, don't get me wrong. The reason I prefer college football over pro football is that the college players play with much more heart, as they are fighting for spots in the pros. Hopefully, despite the ridiculous changes, NXT 2.0 will be the same. Superstar wannabes working extra hard to get on Raw or SmackDown and hopefully not be released less than a year later because the writers have no place for them. I'll still do the rankings, though it's really to keep track of who has the best shot at promotion. I just wish it didn't take a gaudy remodeling to show that they were fine with the demotion back to a developmental territory. I'm Chris Wall with the Wrestling Vlog, who always tells it like it is. Stay safe. I'll see ya!